Okay, welcome to Borak Bursa, everything about everyday Malaysian finances. Today we have two very special guests. Of course, on my right, I have Mr. Chuck here, who represents the average investor. And then we have Encik Faisal here, who is a group managing director of Amanah Raya Berhad. And we have Jack here on my further left, right, who is the
Group Business
Chief
and Operating Officer of Amanah Raya Berhad. Yeah, we just had you guys on, I think, about 8 months ago.
That's
To
right,
talk
yeah.
about, I think it was during Halloween as a Halloween episode, so we talked about death. So hopefully this time around we can talk about a little bit more optimistic stuff as well. I think the first thing that we wanted to just get into, just for the readers, our fans who have not catched the last Halloween episode, let's talk a little bit about what Amanah Raya is, okay?
Yes.
So, as we understand, you guys handle wills and trusts, you handle estate, when people die. Is that a fair summary, or is there more to it in broad terms?
I mean, by and large, quick answer to that is yes, but of course that's not all we do.
Give us a full picture.
The key takeaway is WTE, right? WTE, wills, trust, and estate. But of course, being an organization set up by the government, we were set up with a national mandate.
Yep.
We were set up with a national mandate to ensure that estate administration is for everyone. It's not for, I think the common perception is estate administration is only for the wealthy, which is simply not true, because anyone who has any kind of assets to be left behind, no matter how small or how little it is, will be left with uncertain risks when it's left unplanned, right? So that's why we were set up to provide these services in an accessible manner, a relevant manner, and with a motive in mind, with a national mandate in mind.
Yeah. The national mandate is interesting. That's something that we talked about the last time as well. That you guys actually were set up in 1921, if I'm mistaken.
That's right. That's right.
Which
Yeah.
is you're older than Malaysia. Yeah. I mean, personally not you. You look great, but
Technically speaking, yes. Technically speaking,
Amanah Raya is
Yeah.
older than Malaysia, right?
like our combined age basically is Amanah Raya's age.
Yeah.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. Was it when you guys were set up originally? Was it also called Amanah Raya back in 1921?
Well, generally speaking, right, it's actually in the world, right, they have such a setup also. So in 1921, right, when it started, right, was actually called the Public Trustee Office.
Okay.
So basically, it's actually representing the public trustee directly in the sense of the name itself.
Yeah.
So of course, in 1995, right, that's where there's actually all in Malaysia already set up and everything. 1957 and 1995, right, that's where the corporatization of Amanah Raya was actually coming in, right. And then and there, right, was actually there's a change of name. So basically, Amanah Raya, people will say that, okay, is it still the public trustee? It's still the public trustee. So enacted under the Act, right, we actually call ourselves public trustee in the sense of Bahasa Malaysia. Amanah stand for trust.
Right.
Raya stand for the basically public rakyat. So it's the old words, or maybe we call it Bahasa Baku, right? So on the name of itself, right? But actually, in fact, right, the fun fact of it, right, even before the time of Amanah Raya word came out, right, it was actually under the High Court. So it's under the Malaysia kind of like Ministry of Law, right? So it's under the High Court, right? At a point of time, right, the name has changed from Public Trustee Office. Those days was Public Trustee Office of Malaya and Singapore.
Oh.
So after Malaysia thing, I don't go into history,
Yeah.
but after Malaysia thing, right, so there's a separation. Singapore is actually still called Public Trustee Office of Singapore.
Okay.
Public Trustee and Insolvency Singapore. So
Right.
And is there any link between you and the Singapore
we
version?
do have some talk as a public trustee in the sense of if there's any estate case that's actually cross country, right? But in Malaysia, after the public trustee word, right, the first Bahasa Malaysia word, right, that they use, right, is actually Jabatan Pemegang Amanah Raya. So then in 1995, when you corporatize it, right, all the Jabatan word and everything is not there, and it's just called Amanah Raya.
Right.
So boss, you have.
I think
So-
just to provide clarity, I think why the word Amanah Raya? Amanah means trust, and Raya means for the public.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how over the years it evolved to become Amanah Raya.
Right.
combined,
Public
right?
trust lah.
Public trust.
So would I mean, it's interesting how it's evolved. So for example, in Singapore, do they also have, because I know Amanah Raya has its own act in Malaysia, passed by Parliament, Would that be something similar like Singapore?
It's similar to a certain extent. Of
Yeah.
course, they do have the estate administration law and how the Distribution Act and everything, right?
Yeah.
But they are still under the Ministry of Law, whereby
Ah.
us, we are under Ministry of Finance, but still it's already corporatized. So
Right.
they did not corporatize, and their office is actually combined with insolvency. Slightly different structure, but of course it varies from country to countries.
I think on that point, actually, just to explain to our viewers, because like when we talk about wills and trusts, the first people that we go to, or at least my parents told me to go to, are lawyers, right? So, but you guys administrate wills and trusts in a slightly different way, and I think a bit more wide-reaching. Maybe you can describe to someone that say, hey, why should I go to Amanah Raya when I go to my lawyer?
Okay.
I think there's some overlap when it comes to will services, trustee services, and estate administration services. I think, for clarity, I think the public should differentiate the difference between the WTE, right? So in terms of wills, there's a lot of overlaps. The one thing to remember is that the main difference between us and lawyers or private trustees is that we are public trustee, right? So in terms of will services, there is a lot of overlap. That means lawyers can provide these services, private trustees can provide these services, and public trustee can provide these services, right? What differentiates us from the rest is that the authority to provide estate administration. I mean, trustee services can be offered by private trustees and Amanah Raya, but when it comes to estate administration, Amanah Raya has the unique position that we are the only one who become the administrator, the trustee, and the executor.
So does that mean that if I go through a lawyer, the lawyer still has to contact Amanah Raya to execute?
That's right.
Everything?
That's right. So, and that's why we were set up with a national mandate to become a one-stop center.
Yeah.
We provide will, trust, and estate administration as well.
So maybe for the audience who don't quite know the difference between the administrator, the executor, and what was the other one? And the trustee.
Trustee.
Okay, so these are all very French and Greek words, right? What's the difference between the three?
Wait, let me guess, and then you tell me whether I'm wrong or not. Okay. The administrator can be the lawyer or can be a family member who is basically just reading trying to interpret what's in the script. Just tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, I do the whole thing first. Okay. Then the second one was the trustee is the one who holds the assets. And the executor is the one who chooses how to distribute the assets to all the recipients. How wrong am I?
Well, actually, I would say that how wrong are you, right? But in the sense of trustee and executor, yes, that's right.
Okay.
But on the administrator, right, it's slightly not right. It's 50% correct. Anyway, the administrator, normally the lawyer can't be, unless the family members or the beneficiary or owners of the family members, right, is a lawyer. So basically, the administrator, right, normally is actually like a person that's actually they are actually entrusted to, but lawyers doesn't do, because lawyers might be conflicted, because the lawyers might be the person who draft the will, might be the person who actually running the show to go to the court and everything, right? So normally the administrator is actually appointed in the family members.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's half correct.
So
anyway.
what's the role of the administrator then versus the executor? I think they will come closer. Trustee is the guy who owns, or the person that owns, or entity that owns the assets.
Yeah.
But administrator and executor,
Yeah.
what's the difference?
Okay, the most simple way to explain it, right? Okay, just now we talked about all these three items, right? We are now talking about estate administration, but there's two kind of cases. You have a will, you don't have a will. Generally, we call it tested or intestate. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have a will, right, that's where the name of executor come in. You execute a will,
Right.
but with the probate letter.
Okay.
Okay, so the executor will just actually follow the will, and the executor can be not one of the beneficiary or anything. So like your auntie is actually there, the father passed away, and then they say that the auntie will be the executor when it named in the will, right? So the executor will just follow the will and execute it as it is.
Okay.
So that's why they call it executor.
Right.
Sorry,
And
what's
when
a probate letter?
the probate letter. Okay, yeah, that's the part.
I
The
heard it just now, I
probate.
was like, hey, what's that?
Okay, when you're talking about estate administration, right, as a whole, whether you have a will or don't have a will, right? Let's say that you have a will. So it doesn't mean like in the movies, everybody come into the family and then the lawyer come and says that, okay, this is the will. You got this, you got this, you got nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't end there. you can't execute that will just by that. You need to file it, let's say that, to the court, or in fact, or Amanah Raya, or to a land office, which is actually under the Small Estate Distribution Act. They have the power to issue a probate letter or letter of administration. Bear with me on that.
Okay.
So letter of probate, right, is actually when you have a will, then you go and ask for a probate letter. So it's as good as like a court order to say that this is valid, now you can use it.
Right.
So you have a will, right? You go to the bank and says that, hey, my father left me this, give me the money, right? They say no. Where's your probate letter?
Right.
Okay, so the another word introduced today, right, is actually letter of administration.
Yeah.
That's where when you don't have a will. When you don't have a will, right, you can actually, that's where that Encik Faisal was mentioning just now.
Right.
So we're talking about estate administration,
Yes.
trusteeship, and also the executor, right?
I see.
So basically, right, you separate into two very simple way to make it layman, right? The will, right, will and also the trustee, right, is like planning pre-death.
Right.
You can plan it pre-death. Estate administration, right, is a post-death kind of things.
That means
So
you didn't leave a will.
you didn't leave a will or anything. So whether you have a will or not, right, it have to be post-death to go into administrating, right, the estate. The word estate we use here, right, basically is actually a simple word, dead people's asset.
Okay.
So not
okay.
like real estate kind of estate. So that's why when you call estate administration, definitely is post-death. So it's pre-death and post-death.
I see.
Yeah.
So that's like default settings. When you don't set anything, then that's what will happen.
Yeah, then you have to get a lawyer to go and file everything, right? That's why whether it's actually outsiders like lawyers or anybody non-governmental, right? They will still have a work to do, right? To say that get a letter of administration if there's no will. Whether go to the High Court or come to us, we also can actually under our act we can actually issue letter of administration. Yeah.
Right. And then just to clarify, wills and trusts, I think we covered this last time, so I'll just go over it briefly. A will is something that is executed upon death, whereas trust is something that can be executed for a much longer time. Is that correct?
That's right. That's
In
right.
broad-
Yeah.
broad
In broad
strokes,
terms, yeah. I mean, will is your basic hand-me-down instruction that upon demise, this asset A goes to person B, C, or D. Whereas a trust setup will have in layman's term, would have a set of instructions.
Yeah.
Let's say upon demise, the trust setup will ensure the demise's estate is funneled through the trust and distributed through the dependencies over a period of time according to the trust deed.
Yeah.
So
And-
it has a different purpose.
And the trust can take effect even when you're still alive, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
What is an example of that?
For example, a cash trust. Let's say it's quite common amongst Muslims, especially parents who don't have a son, for example. So as you know, when you don't have a son, your estate could be contested under Faraid, and that's where people do cash trust, where this is, I would say, the Ferrari of estate management, because it's a legally permissible way in Islam to separate your assets and ensure your loved ones gets it. For example, a famous product from us is cash trust, right? So your one puts his savings into a cash trust for his daughter, for example, and according to the trust deed, the cash is only released to the daughter when she's 18, for example. So so the daughter can be 18 while he's alive, or the daughter can be 18 while he's passed on. But the trust ensures that the monies reaches the beneficiaries regardless of alive or dead.
I suddenly have another really interesting question. Sorry, I think it's interesting. You say trust and holding money until she's 18, that's the example that you gave just now. In that time, that's 18 years. Is the money just stagnant, or is it invested, or what?
It depends on the instructions we receive on the trust deed. I mean, there will be some of our clients who will be looking for slightly higher yield, or there'll be some clients who would prioritize preservation and protection.
Yeah.
So the trust deed can be customized to suit the preference over time.
What kind of options are there?
Well, I mean, some of them would give us a mandate to invest in equities or fixed income, for example. Some of them would give us a mandate saying don't invest in anything, just put it in fixed deposits, for example.
Right,
So it really
right.
depends on the customer's requirements, right?
Yeah.
That may be.
So that's the thing. It's actually a very interesting question you have there, in that
Oh,
fact,
so it is
right,
interesting. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just want to acknowledge that anyway. But in overall of it, right, it's like talk about instruction and everything, right? Of course, there is a minimum yield that's actually, of course, everybody says that I shouldn't have money inside there and stuck. And like just now mentioned about, Chief Faisal was mentioning about FD. So that's the rates that usually they will expect, right? If they just go on the mode of preservation.
Yeah.
Of course, this one is actually giving a very simple case, right? But since Chief Faisal says that that's the most permissible way, right, for the Muslim, right? I want to twist it better for you, right? In the sense of let's talk about the Chinese version of trust, okay? So, no, I think
Means
everybody.
don't trust, like my grandma don't trust anybody.
Okay, that's the thing. The trustee work, right? That's where it comes in. If you don't trust anybody, right, trust the trustee. So that's why you have the word
So
trustee
good
there.
motto. You guys should
Yeah.
have it. If you don't trust anybody, trust the trustee.
Yeah, actually, in fact, right, like the only trusted public trustee is our motto. We are the only one anyway.
Okay,
So
okay.
on that sense, right, just give you an illustration of it, right? Make it more complicated, make it interesting, right? So when you have a trust, right, one of it is actually cash trust. Then you have property trust. Simple thing like you're asking, is it like more prolonged compared to a will, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like Chief Faisal says, when it comes to will, right, once it's come in, execute, distribute, that's it.
Yeah.
But trust, if the father is the type that's actually like control freak, right? It's like as good as if I may say the word, or even if I die,
Still
I
wanna
want you
control.
to follow my rules. So don't want to have much things. I only have a cash of 500,000 in the trust, and also a property which is actually a shop lot in the trust. And I don't trust anybody will keep that property, right? Which is actually used to be my grandfather property.
Yeah.
They will sell it, generation, right? So they'll talk about second generation, third generation. When
Yeah.
they got the property, it says that it is 10 million, right? Let's sold it, right?
Yeah.
So what they actually do is actually like, you can put the instruction says that, I have the property there under the trust. The trustee, like Amanah Raya, is taking care of the property and also the cash. And the cash only can distribute, right, with the whatever dividend or income that they make, right? For example, the fixed
Rental
deposit
income.
rate, rental income for the property,
Right.
and also the cash dividend, right? Only the profit generated from the cash and also the property can be distributed.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so that's one of the classics example of if you watch a lot of movies like I don't know why I want to say this, but Chinese movie love to make these kind of things, right? A foundation or
Yeah.
family trust, that kind of things, right? So many years old that just to avoid that, the saying of 3-generation wealth will be the
Wealth only
will
lasts
be-
3 generations.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to
So
speak
the
Chinese
trust
on that.
setup ensures it lasts longer. I mean, the most common fear is that the children don't share the same interests as the parents.
Yeah, correct.
That's a common situation we come across. We've come across situations whereby even the trust can be set up to provide some inclination towards a family. For example, especially we've come across cases whereby the beneficiary of the trustee can only enjoy the income of the trustee if she or he memorizes certain verses from the Quran.
Wow. Okay.
For example.
Wow.
And they'll appoint the trustee to check that, to verify that.
Yeah.
Another example that we've come across is maybe the person who set up the trust is a person who promotes health, for example. So any person who wants the distribution of trust must meet a certain minimum requirement of BMI, for example.
Wow.
Like if you're overweight, you cannot get the distribution of trust. So
Yeah.
it can be customized in any way you want. So that's why I was saying, I would like to reiterate, trust is so powerful because it provides protection, control, but most importantly, it provides flexibility, continuous flexibility. That's why I call it the Ferrari of
Yeah.
estate management.
Right.
Yeah. And it prevents your kids
Is-
from buying a Ferrari.
Is there
That's right.
is there a lifespan to the trust? Like, could it be 100 years, or is it good for like?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Does
It
it expire?
can
Yeah.
be, but the thing is actually it expired because actually under the law of Malaysia, right, we don't really have, we still have the term, so which is actually you still need to set the term of it. So of course, until that time comes, right, it can be 35 years, 70 years, you can.
What's the
but
maximum?
you still, technically speaking, we don't really have a maximum, but generally speaking, practice, right, you don't go 100 years, so because like it's a century thing, right?
Yeah.
So normally they will set like 70 years or anything, but of course there is a mechanism inside there, right? Like let's say when you set up, right, the donor or the patriarch, right? That's actually the grandfather is the one set it up. So it says that this one going to be last until a certain years, right?
Yeah.
There's certain ways of distributing, and then at the time, right, probably the grandfather already passed away, let's say 70 years. So on the 70 years, right, then in the appointment of the patriarch, right, so of course like a chairman of the company, so that person goes on. Then in the rules, right, did mention that's actually how the board of trustees to select the next one. So you can still continue. By the time when the terms end, right, you can actually choose, right, to say that, I want to
Extend.
redesign it or extend it or anything, but there is a term in that.
I
But
see.
if I'm not wrong, the only one that's actually I see before there's actually no term, right, was actually Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Yeah, Hong Kong doesn't require you
In
to have a term.
perpetuity.
It can be perpetuity.
Oh, wow.
That's why that's actually they're having a lot of
But
problems.
so in Malaysia, it's standard for you guys to have a continuation plan at the end of the trust period,
Yeah,
whatever that might
yeah.
be.
Yeah, that's a term. That's a term.
So the longest you've seen, what, is 70? You're saying 70 years. So it's like 99 years advisable, that
That's
kind
why
of
they
thing.
say wealth only lasts 3 generations. After that, it just,
Well, it's flexible. It's like, I'm just saying that I never see before.
but it's flexible,
It's possible.
Okay.
I never try, never know.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if anybody is actually interested to try a century, right, can just give me a call.
I mean, I was just thinking, my feel for a private trustee, if I want to do a 99-year trust, like, I don't know if that they'll still be operating, right? We don't know,
what
right?
if the lawyer's son the one
Exactly,
who do that
exactly.
thing?
It's a real issues. Like we do have cases, right, that's actually transferred to us, right, from law firm.
Yeah.
The reason is because, right,
The lawyer has gone.
The lawyer has gone. The lawyer has gone. So the partners was like saying that, those days, like, this businessman and this lawyer is good friend. This businessman just passed away, but the lawyer passed away earlier.
Yeah.
So they still have the documents, but on the execution wise, right, is it Amanah Raya can, but they do advise the beneficiaries, right, or
Yeah.
the family members to
Yeah.
come to us.
Okay.
But I just want to correct in sense of the misconception, right, about the scary part. Go to government will take, right. We don't have such thing. That's why it's a public trustee. So public trustee means that we are actually independent, right? Even though we are actually 100% owned by the government, but the role itself, right, and the act itself, right, confine us to become, right, the public trustee, right, means that we have to be independent. So we work in the sense of the mandate with the client. So there's no such thing. And in fact, in the sense of, like Chief Faisal was saying, it's better, like, in the sense of trust, right?
Yeah.
So it means that, if anybody collapse, that's one point. Another thing is actually, even if anybody is actually having issues on their financials, right, whether will we take the money? We can't. Because even anything happen, right, the government will back up the capital that's actually already there.
Yeah.
So it's stated in the act. So we are confined within that. We are independent, even though we're actually 100% owned by the government. If somebody, right, like for example, you have a will with me, simple thing, don't even say about trust. You have a will with me,
Yeah.
and my government just give a call and says that, can I see the will? I can't give it to them. Anybody of our, like, unless unless you actually have contravening certain act, right, and says that you're on a criminal or anything, even on that, right, we need them to prove that's actually, is there anything to do with this will? If no, we can't, because we are confined within that.
Right.
So
So
that's the misconception.
The cliff notes would be that the benefits that Amanah Raya would have is that you are bonded by the law to go by the book, number one, and number two, because you guys are an institution, then you have longevity as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So those are two very good reasons to go Amanah Raya.
So if I'm a viewer watching this, I'm thinking, wow, trust. We talk about trust fund babies, right? That means we always think wealthy families. But can someone with 50,000 set up a trust? Like, would it be financially feasible, or is there like a minimum amount, to set up a trust, for example, with Amanah Raya, of course?
The barriers to entry, I would say, would differ in depending on the type of trust you'll be looking at. For example, when you set up a cash trust, there's an actual transfer of the assets to the trustee.
Correct.
Right? And in transferring the assets, some transferring of assets incurs stamp duty. So that's why I say it's the Ferrari of estate management, right?
Okay.
And that's why certain people prefer a will when they trust their children to do the right thing, as opposed to a trust. Because when you do a property trust, you incur the stamp duty.
Yes. Right.
So which makes the minimum threshold to be a certain amount.
Right.
So I would say it depends on what trust you will be talking about. And you're right. I mean, if the assets is probably too little, maybe the best solution is hibah or will.
Right.
How much is a will?
A will is 1,200 ringgit
Okay.
with us, yeah.
Okay.
And just so everyone knows, we've implemented this 12-month installment. 0% fee if you
So
if you
100
pay
ringgit a
with
month,
100 ringgit a month.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So everyone can literally have a will.
I don't know how to make it any cheaper. I mean,
That's what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
Everyone can afford a will,
Right,
but
right.
whether wanted to write a will or not, right? Even
Yeah.
though it's actually 1,200, and we have zero interest credit card programs with multiple banks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I would say is that since you asked so much questions, I also want to ask this question: do you want to write a will with me? 1,200.
Sure, why not? I mean, it's
I mean, how much would a lawyer charge typically for that
Well,
service?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the lawyer,
Yeah.
but depending on their how it is different.
I would imagine
So
5 to 10,000 at least, right?
not that much. So what under our research, right, we can say is that it can go as low as 1,500 ringgit. But the only difference is actually whether it's a lawyer or there's a private will provider companies, right? When they provide it, right, we notice that I'm not saying right or wrong. So it's just that when they do it, right, maybe its starting point is like 1,500, and then they go by clauses that you want to put inside there.
I think a
That's
point
very-
which I would like to get back when you mentioned about the overlaps between will, trustee, and estates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not taking anything away from the other practitioners who are helping to this cause, is that we do encourage, I mean, we're not taking away anything from the lawyers or the private entity, because what we're dealing with is a national problem, right? What we're dealing with is, I think I've mentioned this before, is we have assets stuck in the limbo because of poor estate planning. And the amount of assets stuck in the limbo is about in the tune of 65 billion. So the awareness, we welcome private trustees or legal advisors to encourage the entire nation to have wills, because currently only 5% of Malaysians have a will. So we're actually dealing with a national problem. How it will benefit the Malaysians and how it will help Amanah Raya's cause is when everybody has a will, eventually they will have to come to the estate administration, which is back to us, right? So together, I think if we join forces, we can help create more awareness and help solve this national problem.
okay. So is it possible to write a will to then put those assets into a trust after you die?
Okay, it's good that you mentioned that
Yeah,
question, because
yeah.
will is the most basic form of estate preparation. So it's good that if somebody is looking to set up a trust, but you have to set up the will first. The will is your basic
Oh,
protection
okay.
to dictate what happens after demise, right?
Okay.
So a trust can't work by itself in the event of death.
It can work by itself, but it's not complete.
Right.
It's not complete because, for example, if I put my assets, I put 100,000 in a trust for my daughter. So what happens to my other assets, right? Because the beauty about trust is that it caters for your assets now,
Yeah.
and it also provides your distribution preference for assets to be discovered,
Yeah.
or assets that you have not discovered under your name. The distribution preference is dictated under the will.
Okay.
Right.
Jack, you wanted to say something?
Oh no, just like exactly same like what Chief Faisal
Okay.
mentioned, but just that on that note, right? That's why if you're saying that I write a will first, maybe some of the asset already inside the will, then you set up another trust, right? Can, but once you set up the trust, right, whatever you wrote in the will, right, those type of asset, right, won't be distributed based on the will, because the trust will precede.
Right.
Yeah, because that one is actually a real transfer.
Right.
Right.
So
Transfer
basically,
while you're
originally
alive.
you have a house, you write, this house goes to my daughter, but suddenly 3 years down the road, you set up a trust, right? And you transfer the asset to the trust, right? And then maybe after that, he passed away.
But as in,
it's
so
already
saying,
transferred.
can I say, so the will is to transfer all assets into a trust after I die?
You can. That's what we call, right, a will with a testamentary trust. You can. Some of the.
Wow.
But that one warrants a whole new chapter itself.
Ah,
I
okay,
hope that
okay.
you don't further ask that question.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will
Because I'm
be
just
like
building
taking
the Lego
5
blocks.
hours.
You know?
This one not covered under the 1,200 ringgit one.
This one definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely.
So
Okay.
this one is business class.
Well, technically speaking, it's actually covered even if you put the instruction and says that you set up
The
the trust
first
later.
instruction is covered to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
put it in trust. That's
Yeah.
covered, but the whole trust setup is a different
Oh,
fee.
okay.
altogether.
Right.
Okay.
So it's not hidden cost.
Ah,
Does that answer your question already?
yes, it does.
Okay, so my question was, are you guys also administrating overseas assets and digital assets?
Okay, the will can be can cover the assets of a person, right?
Yeah.
So it boils down where the will is centralized. So let's say if I'm a Malaysian and I have assets abroad, I can dictate that I want all my assets in the world to be centralized in Malaysia, depending on the world. Or I can say that my assets in Singapore to be distributed in a separate way, for example. So that's why if you have assets not only in Malaysia but assets around the world, the preparation is a bit more complicated. Okay. For example, if you have some assets in Singapore and you want it to be treated separately, you have to have a separate will in Singapore, to ensure that it goes to the public trustee in Singapore, and we do a process what you call a resealing.
Right. You need a handshake.
You need a handshake to say that the will in Malaysia dictates that I want my asset in Singapore to be transferred to Malaysia. For example, if that's your preference, right?
Right.
And how we pass on the assets overseas to Malaysia is what we call a resealing process. That means like a G2G process. So the assets from London or Austria, whatever, has to go to their domestic law to go all the way up to the public trustee. Then us as a public trustee talk to their public trustee. That process is called resealing process.
Resealing.
So the thing is actually like you will ask, probably I don't want him to ask the second question, what you receive. So basically, like just now, Chief Faisal was saying that the will, right? So you reseal the will to the whether the public trustee or the High Court itself also can. So like, you have the will already here, right? Then you reseal it on that side, right? Then they acknowledge, says that, okay, that's the understanding, that's the way to execute it. So that's the will. So that's the resealing process. But generally speaking, like I think Chief Faisal hint already, right? We do advise, right, if there's like too many assets overseas, right? We say that if you want to do a will with us, right, you do it here, what we have here. Because you see, the resealing process is actually very different country to country. So like, Chief Faisal used the very simple word G2G, right? So try imagine that I have a lawyer there and here and there, and then go to court and do it, right? And if you're saying it's Commonwealth country, right, technically speaking, it's still fine. Try imagine you go to Germany. So it's going to be a bit of headache in that sense, right? And also different countries have their own act in the sense of estate administration, distributions, or even some countries actually go in civil codes. So usually we say that if you have too many, right, better do a separate one there, and what you have in Malaysia, you do it in Malaysia. But usually what we do a lot, right, on overseas, right, and in the experience of Amanah Raya, right, if overseas is, generally speaking, is those which is die intestate, so they don't have a will. So they come in, right, and it says that my dad have a house in Singapore, my dad has a house in, I think one of it is actually like Germany, why I use Germany, so you have no choice. So then we have to go to the court on that side, right, to file. It says that this is my LA. Then what you do is actually you bring the LA, so not the will. So it says that this is the LA, go to court and says that this is the thing, this is how our act work, this is how your act work, based on our interpretation. Our lawyers go to the court and says that, let's acknowledge this. So that's the G2G thing that
it's not impossible. It just becomes more complicated. Like if you can imagine an asset in Germany sitting without a will, we have to go to their law for the asset to funnel up to the public trustee and then
they'll
talk
have
to
their
us.
own taxes and stuff like that as well. So you don't know what it will be like when you reach.
Exactly. That you've touched on a very important point. There are taxes over there. I think what we are experiencing in Malaysia and how I can relate that to the low awareness is perhaps the double-edged sort of. We have zero inheritance tax, right? And why certain people in other countries plan very well, because they will be taxed heavily if they don't. I'll give you an example. You guess how much is the inheritance tax in Japan, for example?
I know there is in the UK. I think it's like 50% or something like that, 40 or 50%.
Okay, 40. In Japan, it's 55%.
55%.
55%. So people will go out of their way to plan, right? And that's why we have a lot of that's why some assets which are held in Malaysia is seen as an attraction, because assets in Malaysia distributed to beneficiaries in Malaysia are tax-free.
Right.
Yeah.
So Malaysia is a tax haven for the dead.
If the beneficiary, if it's distributed here, here, right?
Okay.
If it goes to the public sector and goes back to that country, then it'll be taxed in that country.
Okay.
So it's like repatriation of profit law kind of thing.
So what you're saying basically is that this is like a EPF thing, lah. Because I think Alvin has mentioned a few times on our podcast that the reason why a lot of Malaysians don't try so hard to invest is because EPF is such a good investment already.
Fair.
So in that same regard, Amanah Raya, I mean, you probably have some issues convincing people to do complicated wills and trusts because the tax rate is already nothing here.
It's
so
zero.
Yeah, so there's less incentive to do extensive estate planning. Is that fair?
Yep.
But when you talk about EPF, since you talk about EPF, right, that's a slightly different angle in the sense when it comes to Amanah Raya.
Yeah.
So you see, EPF, you're talking about the income and also income generating for the growth, right, in the sense for retirement. Our angle, right, is actually not saying you see, we use the word preservation of the wealth, and also we just want to make sure, right, the beneficiary get what they supposed to get, right, once the person demise, the family members demise. So it's a very different angle. So like EPF doesn't sort out in the sense that you have 1 million in EPF. So what actually happened, right? The person who actually contributed to EPF, right, the person passed away. You still need to headache about the distribution. Technically speaking, just a facts, huh? You see, in EPF, we thought that, okay, fine, EPF, you have what they call it, the naming, right?
Yep.
You name this person, it means that this person going to get the money. Actually, in the eyes of law, right, in the Distribution Act for the non-Muslim or the Muslim in the sense of Farah, right? No, it's not. The naming person there, right, is merely like an executor or the administrator of that money. Because under the Distribution Act, right, let's say you have children, right, you put only your wife's name, right? Under the Distribution Act, right, your wife get 1 part of 4. Non-Muslim, then the children will get. And bear in mind, if you have parents, right, your parents will get the part of it. So it's supposedly the wife get the money, right? You're supposed to transfer that amount of the right amount of money based on the Distribution Act to the family members. But it is not practiced in Malaysia. Most likely, I don't say that maybe some of them do, and I do believe that compared to the Muslims, right, they follow that rules better because they have Fara'id, right? So they know that that's the basis of a study that they have, right? So they do it, but of course there is people actually when I get it, right? It's like my father gave it to me. That's one part of the things that's actually like not mentioned.
So let me clarify what you're saying. So basically, we've all done it before, right? EPF, we're supposed to name somebody to as our
nominee,
right? That nominee doesn't receive the funds; they just execute the funds based on law or pre-existing will.
No, actually they receive the fund.
Okay.
It's a loophole. So basically, normally we receive the fund. Supposedly, after you receive the fund, right, you're supposed to follow the law to say that I transferred to my son on that amount of it, or everybody, or I hold on behalf as a guardian or anything, or transfer the money to the parents or anything. But that part was not done because who knows about that Distribution Act?
Right.
If I don't mention about today, right, most likely they think that's actually no, it's actually like no matter.
I thought it works like insurance, because insurance bypasses that act, right?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So insurance?
Insurance is the same thing. Technically speaking, the person will get it, right? It's actually, but of course, it's arguable. But if you go into the act, right, you're supposed to get the money and transfer it out.
So let's talk about the hypothetical scenario. Okay, let's say someone passes away and they have 2 kids. Okay, and one of the kids is named in the EPF as the recipient. Can the other kid contest that?
Can.
Based on the will?
Can. Not
Yes,
will,
I
not
mean-
will. The law, the
The
Distribution
law.
Act or for it, they can.
Right.
I think the key word here is the nominee. So as a nominee, you're not the beneficiary.
Right.
That's why they use
So
word
nominee, when you
I
name as a nominee,
see.
That's
you're
new information.
you're entrusted to
Yeah.
distribute it according to the will,
The
or
will.
according to the law. And that's why we've approached institutions like EPF to put Amanah Raya's name there.
Right.
Right.
So instead of putting anyone's name, you can put Amanah Raya's name there, so the assets are centralized to Amanah Raya, and we will distribute it according to the will or according to the law.
Yeah, I see.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
That's new
in
news to
EPF,
me.
the only institution name that you can put in, right? It have to be a nominee, have to be an individual, right? The only institution name under the EPF Act, right? That's actually gazetted and they put in, right? Says that Amanah Raya name can be named. So those people who are actually more savvy or more understanding about all these distribution issues, right? They usually will put in, right, Amanah Raya instead of the family members. So he or she, right, knows that it's actually anything happened to them, right? They know it will be a fair distribution under the law
I see.
because
Okay.
we'll take over.
Okay.
That is very, very interesting. Actually, there's another part of the question just now. It's a very long question, right? That you guys haven't answered yet, which is digital assets.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So-
if I had a 21 Bitcoin,
Have you guys had a case already, by any chance? Like, has anyone, any of the crypto whales in Malaysia had a sad demise, or?
Okay, in the sense of, I may answer this, right? So in that sense, right, there is people that's actually intention. We are still talking with that particular person that actually he came in with a certain amount of cryptos, like Bitcoin kind of things. So, but of course, we do a checking on it and how it's actually can be done, right? Technically speaking, can put into the will. You just say that, this one later on I need to pass on to anybody, right? So, but in the sense of passing on, right, how to do it, right? The execution part, right? That's where it comes to. I think on the side notes we do have some discussion about talking about how the custodian come into play, trusteeship on that, right? So we're still sorting out the kind of rulings and the operational matters, right? How it works. But generally speaking, you can put it in.
If it's in an ETF lah.
Yeah. Actually, in fact,
not ETF, is it
not
native?
ETF.
Native
In fact,
Bitcoin.
it's the
Native,
coins.
okay.
But the thing is actually like when we look into it, right? What we understand, right, is actually it pretty much depends on the platform also. Is the platform the platform that they bought from or they're trading off or it's actually like using it, right? Depending where the platform actually situated, because it comes to jurisdiction again.
Correct.
So like the same thing, your house is in Germany or your house is in Malaysia. So your platform is actually Malaysia based. Malaysia based. When we look into it, we think that it's actually we haven't have a person die with that yet, but it's actually just that bill that's actually they're trying to put in, right? So it's but we do think that's actually if the platform is actually Malaysia-based platform, right? It might be.
This is quite interesting. I just want to stay on this for a little bit more. So, Encik Faisal just now mentioned that, if you have an overseas asset, it's a G2G talk lah. So this is like a G2S, like government to Satoshi or something, which means like it will be MetaMask or Luno or whatever.
Correct.
Do they have any systems for estate planning at all?
But I guess because it's a decentralized system, there is no one that you can actually talk to. So technically, if you could have it on your phone, there's no organization or CEO or CFO or headquarters or whatever.
And then and all that as well.
Correct. That's why I say the operationally, right, to execute it, right? And technically, you can name anything that you want to distribute. But the problem is actually
How do you execute,
operationally
right?
execution of it, right? We are trying to crack the code. In fact, right, Encik Faisal was actually pushing for a new initiative, right, for us to look into it. It's as good as reversing, right, that basically decentralization or anything, right? To centralize from digital back to a certain form of physical. For example, some people say that the phrase or anything, right? You're trying to ink it somewhere, and be being the trustee or custodian to become the person who actually hold it.
Correct.
So because trustee. So you have to trust the trustee on that. But we are still working out on that. And that's the latest initiative that we are pushing on, but quite hard to
And it's not easy.
I mean, strictly speaking, theoretically speaking, the clause about a will whereby any of your assets which are undiscovered or which belongs to you can be distributed, and you can state your distribution preference. If you hold on to that, theoretically speaking, that can still hold. But the operational side, the execution side, the practical side is the part where, well, I'm happy to announce, we should be able to have those capabilities within this year.
Wow. Awesome, man.
Okay, that's great to hear. So this brings another point, which is like when you guys fail to execute for whatever reason, say you don't have the first MetaMask password or whatever, right? What happens in that scenario?
That's a good question. That would be uncharted territories. Those will be,
No, but there are several scenarios here, right? For instance, like if there's a G2G issue, or that government for some reason is not cooperating with you guys, or there's so many reasons why an asset cannot be claimed. Under those scenarios, what happens?
I think for the digital asset, our challenge is the realization process, because if the realization process funnels the digital asset to a certain country, then we can do our normal realization process. But if it's decentralized, as you mentioned, then that's the uncharted territory where, like, who do we talk to, right? So that's the part.
There's no natural person to talk to, right?
Satoshi on speed dial.
In fact, on that note, right, maybe instead of using the cryptos or anything digital assets, right, it does have the kind of cases. Don't have to say that cryptos or anything. So let's say it's right a simple estate case, right, of a land. They have a land, and somehow they lost the land title, for example. So of course, the first instance you would think that's actually just go and get the land title from the land office, a duplicate copy. So they need certain proof. what if actually the beneficiaries, right, the family member says that I can't even get any proof, but when we go and do a check, yeah, the name is the same, but the IC is the same. So there is a possibility that they can't have full information. Many years ago, I'm just giving an example, like many years ago, right? So like we go to land office, it's stuck there. For Amanah Raya being a public trustee, right, we have the obligation to complete the case. So even in that sense, right, we're still trying and try different avenue to prove that this title is actually owned by this person. We have cases that's actually we call it like to a certain extent called backlog cases. But we do reduce the backlog cases. We actually keep very minimal backlog cases, surprisingly. Yeah. So went in, and until for the past few years, right, we do have cases like coming. Oh, now they actually can have the system. They can track. This one is actually land office. Some of it is actually like many years ago they don't have a full system. Now most of the land office is actually more advanced, right? Yeah. So they came in and says that we still trying. Every year we still trying. Because the beneficiary will still ask, is it the land resolved already? Is it the land resolved can transfer already? So last right, we actually managed to get a copy of it, and then we can verify. Then we distribute. I'm just trying to say is that if these kind of cases, right, come into a rise that's external factors, right, that we can't control, we don't stop. And we can't stop because under the Act, we can't turn down any cases.
Right.
So we continue, and of course,
it's a public service.
Yeah, that's the thing. We continue that, right, and we do actually put in effort, right, to reduce case.
And all this covered by 12 monthly payments of 100 ringgit.
Not on the estate.
That's the will.
Okay, so the will, I mean, if you have this kind of scenario, then what happens? Like,
okay,
everything you mentioned just now, is it under trust?
No, I'm just saying that estate administration as a general, whether test it on with a will or without a will.
I mean, it sounds like so much effort. Who pays for all this?
Well, it's actually for estate administration, right? When they come and say that I don't have a will or I have a will, when they ask us to do execution or even doing a normal estate administration, right? Let's say it's normal estate administration. They come in, we do charge a fee. So, but there is a scale fee. Yeah. Okay. So for example, right, it's like the first 25,000 is actually 5%. Yeah. And then up to 225,000 is actually 4%. Right. And then like a scale up to like 500,000 and above, right, the remaining value of the asset, right, will be 1%. So let's example like a person pass away with an asset of worth 1 million. Yeah. Probably they pay around 2-point-something% with the scale. But that's the fee that they pay. That's why I just want to mention it since we have a chance to talk about it. Right? So there is people say that you go to Amanah Raya, it's expensive. It's not expensive because we use a lot of nice word, realization, distribution, right? So you see, there's a process flow, right, until the person passed away with the asset, until everything was transferred to the beneficiary. So that's the step of it. So first, you do an investigation, what this guy have. Let's say he don't have a will, what this guy have. Second, you ask for a grant of probate or a letter of administration. So that's where the thing stop for a lawyer. Right. They come in and say that, hey, lawyer, can you just do it for me because my father just passed away? Okay, you don't have a will, right? Okay, fine. I'll do filing and go to the court. I got the letter of administrator. The administrator name is actually you. Thank you very much. Pay me your the fee, and this is the administrator. I can help you. I refer you to the land office. I refer you to the bank. Go and do the transfer yourself. That's what we call realization. But in Amanah Raya, the fee that we charge, right, is inclusive of realization and debt settlement and distribution. And we call it the last step is actually final count. What it means is actually we make sure, right, everything clean for the demise. Basically, your final count is a closed case. So that's what we do, right? And I'm just clarifying it since we have a chance, right, to say that there's a misconception, right, in the sense of we charge a fee. And in fact, one more thing, if you're 5,000 below type of estate, right, you will never know. Some people maybe they do not have much estate. So when they pass away, it's like those low value type of estate, right, we charge a minimal fee. It can go as low as just a 50 ringgit.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is without a will,
without will.
Just to administer.
Okay, so just now we took a brief break and we got to the topic of children, and it's a bit tricky because children under the age of 18, they don't have bank accounts and all that. But it's also a very normal thing for a parent to want to will their estate to their children. So what happens under that scenario? That when kids are too young to even have a bank account?
Well, like we mentioned about the trust, right? Yeah. One part of it is actually best way is actually creating a trust for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, if you're saying young, right, it's only relative, right, to when the person is actually dying.
Yeah.
You see, because actually today is actually maybe 6 years old. If the person is actually lasts until he's actually 21 years old, right, it's not young. So if they think that's actually, they have sickness or anything, right, most often it's actually they will come in and say that, I wanted to write a will or a trust. Because like we mentioned about testamentary trust, right, they will ask for guardians on everything, right, under the will. But generally speaking, it's actually talking about trust. You're creating a trust, right, to say that, upon 18 years old, right, let's say this person is actually like, at age of 50, and the children is actually like 6 years old.
Yeah.
So he have a cancer, everything, right? Not sure when she or he will go away. So what happens actually, we just set up trust, says that the money or the estate, like the house, we put under trust, right? Let the trustee run it, right, until 18 years old. Then in the trust, they put in a format saying that by 18 years old, a certain money will be released to them, and up to the study. And after the study, maybe 25 years old, everything can be transferred to them from the trustee. So that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, so
In the will.
most people might not have a trust. They might just have a will. So in that scenario, when someone is underage, I mean the kids are underage, then what happens?
So actually, that's the main role of public trustee come into play.
Yeah.
So when it's actually devised and the kids actually still kids, right? So of course there will be a guardian to be appointed. So usually it's actually that's on the welfare structure, right? That's actually the family members, father, mother, or the father passed away, the mother will be there. If both of us pass away, right, there'll be family members become the guardian. So the guardian is just the guardian to take care of the children. But the monetary part of it, right, and the asset, right, will be transferred to Amanah Raya, right, being the role of public trustee. That's the power of public trustee. You see, it's automatically will be done like that.
I see.
So then we will take care of the monetary terms of it, right? We'll take care of the house, we'll take care of the cash. So based on the needing of the children, right, then we will do on that basis.
Okay. So then the guardian is in what in that scenario?
Well, guardian is actually basically like a communicator to us. Like every time that they say that the kids actually will need this for, let's say, go study, simple thing.
Yeah.
It's actually the kids actually need to go for study. 10 years old every year, right? The school fees or every month, the food and everything, right? Need 500 ringgit, and then they say that on our on the expenses for the school amenities or everything, right? Need another 1,500 per quarter kind of things, right? So they will send the request to us. Then we will actually verify, confirm that's the amount that needed, right? Or maybe sufficient, not sufficient. Then we will exercise our right to say that, okay, done. This is the money transferred to make the living for the children. So the
transfer to the guardian.
yeah.
Wow.
But we control that because the guardian take care of her. The thing is actually why public trustee was there, right? Also because of this kind of reason. Because is it guardian? I think pretty much there's a lot of movies, shows in other countries, right? Yeah, you get the stepmother is actually when got the money, right? It's like I'm not going to give it to the kids, the kind of things, right? So this is actually one part of the role of public trustee. We ensure the monetary and the asset, right, is correctly given to the right purposes and the right beneficiary.
Okay.
So the guardian take care of the livelihood. We take care of the monetary perspective.
Perhaps Jack, this is you want to take this opportunity to demystify or clarify to the public how come we have assets that come to us involuntarily. So that's the role of the public trustee. So you often hear cases that say a car accident, right? And there's insurance, but the recipient of the insurance is your one son, which is only 6 years old. So who comes in and steps in?
Right.
So that's the role of the public trustee.
Yeah.
So in the public trustee, under the Act, we have the how should I say it? Not I wouldn't say the powers or the burden, but the authority to step in these shoes to take care of the disabled or the underaged.
Do you guys have like a sheet, like a flow chart of, okay, this one first, and then if this one fails, then this one, and then if this one fails, then this one. So let's say there's no will, then it first goes to next of kin, and next of kin is underage, and it goes to what, and it goes to what. Is there a chart like this that people can see?
Well, in the sense of a beneficiary chart, right, it's stated in both of the Distribution Act and also the Raya law.
Yeah.
But it's not a chart that says that if the next of kin is underage, right, it goes to another person. No, it doesn't work like that, because if it's underage, right, it goes to us to take care of him or her until that actually reach the adulthood, right, like 18 or 21 in Sabah, right? So once arrive on that age, right, then we give everything back to her.
Right.
We don't skip. It's just because they are underage doesn't mean that they are not the beneficiary. So the chart is actually more showing like if that doesn't exist, like this person passed away without children. So the chart will say that if down there don't have, right, you go sideways or you go up. That's for the Muslim.
But I think it's important for the public to know before it even reaches that stage. As the estate administrator, we go through a process of, as I mentioned, realization, and then there's a debt settlement, and there's the funeral expenses.
Oh, funeral expenses also. Right.
Only then it goes to the beneficiaries. Right. And it's a bit more complicated for Muslims, as for Muslims you have to follow Fara'id. So that's why we have products like Hibah. Hibah, for example. So when a Muslim person passes on, the first thing is to identify assets which are under Hibah. Because Hibah are assets which are transferred while they're alive. Hibah goes out there first. And in the Muslims' will, there's the 1/3 or portion of the assets which they can distribute to their non-beneficiaries. Let's say I want to give 1/3 of my assets to my neighbor, which is allowed in the Fara'id. So that goes first. Then only the debt settlement, then the funeral expenses, then only the distribution.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
What
the
is
process.
left is the executed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at these case studies that you guys
This a bit
brought
closer
to
to
us. Very gratefully.
Okay.
The first one is no will, no next of kin. It's an interstate estate. So it's a 70-year-old retiree who passed away without leaving a will. I think we just talked about this actually. No known next of kin. And he owns a small apartment. He owned, and has 80,000 in savings. So what happens in this scenario?
So first process is again process of realization. We identify what assets we have.
Yep.
And the big process that happens here, which differentiates us, and this has to sink in, right, is the tracing of the beneficiaries. Because technically speaking, there's no one who passes on without somebody who will be, how should I say, have the right to receive his estate. Let's say if he doesn't, let's say he's not married, or he doesn't have any children, then it goes on to the parents. And let's say if their parents are not around, it goes on to the grandparents. So that's the process what we call tracing the beneficiaries.
So you guys have like Amanah Raya detectives or something like that?
We do.
a department.
And I'm happy.
wow.
And I'm happy to announce what we're doing is what we call the Jejak Waris program. The Jejak Waris program. So that's why, as a public trustee, although we have profit motivation, but our motivation is to ensure distribution takes place. That's why we go out of our way to find and locate these beneficiaries.
Right.
And of course, it brings us joy to see that some of these beneficiaries, some of them don't even know that they were entitled to this
What's the
estate.
background of a person that works in this department? Like, are they
Mostly
law
would be
enforcement
legal
or-
background,
Oh.
Legal.
finance background. Yeah.
So the research, they have to go into someone's family history or like.
Yeah, I mean, being part of the government, that's one of the advantage in the sense of we
You have all the
do have
information.
we do can request for the information like JPN or
Wow,
anything, right?
right,
We do have
right.
access,
Right.
but of course, actually, due to a lot of PDPA Act and everything, right?
Yep.
As long as we actually confirm in that sense, right, we can actually request because as an administrator of that estate, right, we do send in and says that I have the LA, I'm the administrator, I'm looking on that. So and just a direct translate of Jejak Waris is actually called beneficiary hunters.
Beneficiary hunters,
So
yeah.
sounds cool. So that's the thing, like the
I want
example
to
of
visit that office, man.
yeah, you can. So
Oh yeah.
it-
That's probably one of our more exciting departments. Yeah.
when it comes to like it says that next of kin is not there, right? It's impossible because somebody is born. So like Encik Faisal was mentioning, you go way up. Let's say go up to the grandparents.
Yep.
Okay, the grandparents is actually already passed away. It's fine.
Yeah.
But grandparents might not be only one child. A straight line on that, right? Very rare. I don't say that no. There's a possibility, like that really the last generation of that family, but
So
it's
what
very
is
rare.
the furthest that you guys have gone in beneficiary hunters?
Well,
I mean, the last line. I mean, if there's really no beneficiaries,
Yeah.
the asset ultimately goes back to the government.
Oh, okay.
Let's say if there's really, let's say you go to the parents, there's no parents, there's no grandparents, and then it goes to the sibling. Let's say there's no siblings. What do you do?
Yeah, what do you
The
do?
asset goes back to the government.
But it's important from a public trust perspective that they know that you guys tried your best.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So I feel like Jejak Waris story should really come
I
out.
know, and that's why I would like to take this opportunity to demystify. I think you often hear the myth saying that we're hoarding assets, right?
Yeah.
We're not. I mean, hunting beneficiaries can be a complicated process because you have beneficiaries who some of them don't want to be identified for some reason. Some of them didn't even know that they were entitled to these assets, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But,
there are challenges.
On Alvin's question, how far we go on our experience, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, it's actually the first generation on the third. So it means that grandfather level.
Grandfather
So
level.
Once go to we don't really have the great grandfather level. I didn't recall, but because actually grandfather level itself, right? You already see there's a lot of others, uncle, auntie, grand uncle, auntie is actually there already. So from that level, right, you can actually see that, right, you can hunt it. But the only problem for us sometimes, right, it takes some time for us, right, is that generation is Malaysia we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So the grandfather generation, some of them is actually not in Malaysia. So we do take the effort, right, until go to that country and contact them. Some
Wow.
of them
Well,
is
you really balik
contactable.
China lah sometimes if you have to.
Yeah, if it's Chinese, there is a lot of instances that's actually even multiracial. But some of them, right, a Muslim family. The last case that actually I take a look at it, right, the grandfather actually have other children, right. So when that other children, right, was situated in US, it's a Muslim,
Yeah.
but a family in Malaysia. But the earlier generation, right, was actually in US.
Right.
We need to contact them, and we do go until that extent. If
Right.
you're asking how
And then
far we go.
And then he becomes a beneficiary. Lah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we do have that instances of those people say that, oh, I'm the beneficiary. The first instance they will say that, are you scam? I say we are not scam. Look at this. We are this and that. We do go and meet the person, right,
Yeah.
in a full uniform, and also talking about that.
Okay.
And do give our act and everything, right, to confirm. And
So there's a Amanah Raya uniform.
yeah.
This is the one?
This is actually the official uniform.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Merch,
Jejak
merch.
Waris also have the
Swag.
version.
Yeah. I was just imagining it'd be really funny if some guy in Malaysia had a kid in Nigeria and then you have to go to Nigeria and say hi, the other way around, right? Like, oh, someone has passed away in Malaysia and now we're giving you the estate.
Yeah, I mean, just giving an example of it. Nigeria, I never tried before.
So just to visualize this again for our viewers. So basically, when Jack said grandfather level, so correct me if I'm wrong again. That means the kid. If they have no next of kin, you go up one level and then check whether they had any next of kin. And if they had no next of kin, you go up another level to the grandfather level, and then you see all their kids and whether there's any branches out there.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. The reason is actually because you see, the estate need to transfer to the next of kin or the beneficiary, right?
Yeah.
So if the beneficiary is actually on top, right, you transfer it on top.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you want to transfer on top, right, that person not there.
Yeah.
So then you go on top again.
Yeah.
Right.
If let's say don't go on top, right, just go up there, right, then you notice that okay, there's another person. So it's actually linked.
Yeah.
Right.
So you just follow the trail of the family tree.
Yeah, family tree. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, so next case study. Trust for disabled special needs child. A single mother wanted to ensure her special needs son will be taken care of financially if anything happened to her. So I guess the issue here would be, does the special needs child, can they even understand the money that they're receiving and administrate it appropriately? Is that, yeah.
Well, I mean, just the fact that he or she is a disabled or special needs child, I mean, the key word here, your one needs continuous care. So in having a continuous care, that's why we feel the best setup is a trustee setup.
Yeah.
Because it's a continuous set of instructions where we funnel all the assets of the deceased, your EPF money, your insurance payouts, and your rental income into the trust fund with a set of instructions to take care of the disabled or the special needs child.
Yeah.
It's similar to what we mentioned just now regarding the
Trust.
minors.
Yeah. Right.
So
right.
same thing, minors and the disabled child,
Yeah.
same treatment. And just want to make clarification on that, right? Just now we talked about trust and trust, right? So there's two types of trust: voluntary trust and involuntary trust. So involuntary trust, right, is the one that's actually by the power of public trustee, right? You anything happen, right, is your minor or OKU certified, right? So it's going to be directly, we're going to take care of the financials of the asset and then with the
Right.
guardian support. So
That's
voluntary,
that's involuntary.
That's
lah.
involuntary.
Okay,
So
okay.
involuntary in the perspective of the asset
Okay,
owner.
okay.
So then voluntary is actually like, the asset owner already know that my child is actually having a problem,
Yeah.
disabled, like this kind of cases, right? That's when she or he set it up, right, while she's alive, right, is count as voluntary trust.
Okay.
So this is a voluntary trust.
Yeah.
Well, it becomes a voluntary trust if the person sets up the trust.
Right.
So
Yep.
so
All
that's
right.
another. I would say it's a how to say oxymoron. It's nice thing that we have business, but it's not nice that sometimes it becomes involuntary and people think we're holding assets. you know? That's the role of the public trustee.
Yeah. Okay. And this is all covered under the Distribution Act.
The Public Trustee Corporation Act,
Oh, Public
Yeah.
Trustee
Public
Corporation.
Trust
or
Corporation
PTC
Act.
1995.
Is it the Amanah Raya Act? Is that the
Correct.
one?
It's
Yeah, the
Amanah
Public
Raya
Trust
Act.
Corporation
Ah,
Act 95. That's
ah.
our act to give
Right.
us those powers to be the person who was authorized to manage assets for the OKU
Yep.
and underage.
I see.
It's
The
just
act
that
has been around
disabled.
for how long?
Sorry?
The act has been around
since
Since
1995.
95.
Right.
So
The
It's
30
called-
corporatization or during the corporatization.
Correct. It's called Public Trust Corporation Act,
Yeah.
but in Bahasa Malaysia of the act is called Akta Perbadanan Amanah Raya. So it's more clearer in Bahasa Malaysia.
Okay.
Okay, so case study number 3, preventing disputes among heirs. So obviously this is one that we are very familiar with. If any of us watched TVB when we were younger, a family of 5 siblings faced a potential conflict over their late father's estate, which comprised a business and several properties. Consensus on appointing an executor was unattainable. So what is that like when they can't agree on an executor? Like, does that mean that the late father didn't have a will or he didn't have a trust?
It can come in both instances, but we come across these cases especially when there are many beneficiaries involved. For example, your one has got 7 children, for
Yeah.
example, right? And when the assets involved are complicated, which the assets involve a lot of valuation, a lot of debt settlement, you find that amongst the siblings there can be disagreements amongst them. And the unique position of Amanah Raya, they can collectively decide, you know what, let Amanah Raya be the referee.
Right.
So that's where we can be the referee and execute or perform the distribution according to the law or according to the will.
So then, so the family, okay, I'm very curious about this issue. The father already passed away, but then the family appointed you guys as the administrator.
Amongst the beneficiaries.
Does that require total consensus among all the family, or majority wins, or
No, you do need the majority.
majority?
Yeah.
lah.
Basically, it's
Simple
actually-
majority?
No, the thing is actually, if you're talking about majority can,
Yeah.
on the what do you call this? Non-Muslim, but of course there's a possibility of dispute if they are not the 100% agreeable to that. So you see, your question about this, right, was the case, right, was saying that they don't have consensus to say that appointment of executor.
yeah.
I just have to clarify. There's two issues can arise to come to this stage, right? Whether it's actually there's a will, they appoint an executor, but when reading the will, right, the other brothers and sisters says that I don't agree about this executor.
Right.
Okay, then another one is actually you totally don't have a will.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't have an executor. So you need to look for to appoint an executor or administrator.
Yeah.
So normally they just go to court, right? So what happens is actually, when they actually don't have an agreement on that, right? On the first case, in the sense if they already have a named executor, but they don't agree.
Yeah.
So they have 2 routes to go about it. One is actually sue in court and fight for the executorship or the administratorship, or they can actually all of them says that okay, fine, all of us give up, and you as the executor that's actually named, or maybe 2 of you actually joint executor name, right? Go to Amanah Raya, let Amanah Raya handle. What they need to do, right? They need to renounce themselves. So
Right.
that's why that's actually when, in the sense, why I'm trying to say is that it might not be a majority, right? Because actually, let's say it's an executor already appointed case, but they disputing.
Yeah.
Then you don't need everybody. You just come to us. That 2 executor already named, right?
Yeah.
They need to renounce themselves, and I say that I'm giving up, and all of us reappoint you. So you just need to sort out. If not, right, if like totally no cases and no one's actually appointing that, right, they can just come to us, and usually that's actually everybody have to say that we want
Everybody
to go
lah.
on that.
Everybody has to sign the document
Yeah.
now. Yeah. All the next of kin or whatever it is.
Yeah.
lah.
So the function, if you like, I mean, the function is to act as a referee,
Yeah.
and to some cases, it's actually a function of convenience,
Yes.
right? Because if this executor has got no background about asset administration, it will be too difficult for him
Yeah, it'll
to
be very
handle it.
difficult.
So I might as well pass. You see all this headache? Pass it to Amanah. Thank you very much. Right?
Yeah.
But I guess maybe the question behind this case would be, how would they set up a will so that it is almost non-contestable? Is there such thing or not?
There's no foolproof.
No
There's
foolproof.
The
I
only
mean-
foolproof is trust.
I mean,
You have no choice
what
already.
we can do as will providers is to give more assurance, right?
Right.
For example, we encourage the will writer to spell or to tell their distribution preference to the children, so at least the children will respect his wishes.
Yeah.
And in some cases, we've heard cases where we videotape the will writing process. So when upon demise, when the children sees the video of their father's wishes, the children will be more compassionate
Yeah,
and
yeah.
agree to just
Yeah.
Yes.
respect
Bring a
the
more
father's
human
wishes.
touch
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
So that we can be more assurances, but 100% guarantee
No.
is very difficult, especially in the cases of Faraid, for example.
Yeah.
In case of Faraid, the distribution preference in the will does not necessarily have to follow Faraid all the time. For example, you have cases where the daughter needs more assets than the son, and this goes against Faraid, right?
Yeah.
But if the father tells it to the children, and upon demise the children agrees to it, then there's no problem.
There's no contest. Okay. So
But of course, you have the 10% case where you have the neglected son and say, hey, I mean, the father didn't care about me. I'll go and contest in court. I mean, it's a big motivation. If I sign a document, I get 100,000 more,
Yeah.
and the lawyer says you will win.
Yeah.
So that's why you have the 10% cases which did not
Yeah,
follow according to the.
On that
will.
specific note, I have a human question to ask, which is, there's a lot of, you guys are executing a lot of estates, right? How often do these conflicts actually happen?
Is it
that
common?
people are fighting for these kind of estates? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? Or is it 90%?
If you want to put it in a percentage, right?
Just a rough figure, we won't hold you to it
Probably
lah,
it's
yeah.
actually like, let me see, probably like 15%.
15%.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Actually, it's very, very low. In fact, why I was like contemplating whether 10 or 15, right? Because for the past 2 years, it's been reducing.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's the literacy. I would say.
Literacy,
Because
yeah.
some of the cases already like they're already aware about their rights. Is it more often than not when you say that the conflicts arise, right? It's actually not really that they know their rights and they just keep pushing on it, and it's like the sense of entitlement.
Yes.
I don't care. It's actually mine. It's mine. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the situation happened. But I do think that's actually for the past few years, right, or maybe even earlier, like 4 or 5 years, right. Financial literacy in Malaysia has increased. So this is part of financial literacy.
And
so
also, I
legacy
think we
planning.
should give credit where credit is due, right? I think it has gone down because we've been in office since the last 2 years, and we've created
That's
more.
right.
And we've created more
More
awareness
awareness.
with podcasts with you guys
Yeah,
last time,
right,
yeah?
okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
So thanks to you guys as well, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I mean, for me as a human, I just feel like I need to ask that question because the Hollywood side of it is there's always some sort of dispute, and so
Yeah.
in our heads, maybe as parents or whatever,
Yeah.
we write our will thinking, I don't want my kids to argue so much or whatever.
It's fair. Actually,
Yeah.
the statistics will look into the movies also. You see, how many movies is actually about inheritance, right?
Yeah.
And also, right, every time that one movie or Hollywood, right, is actually one family. So
Yeah.
if you look into the combine of it, right, probably it might be similar type of numbers, maybe 15 or
And
10%.
I think there won't be a movie. There's no storyline if there's no fight anyway.
Yeah.
So
But
those
the fight-
85% is probably not covered anyway,
true,
right?
true.
But
Yeah.
the fight
Nobody
have
will
to
watch
be
that movie.
huge,
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah.
Huge amount. So if you're just moderate, right, some of them they just I don't really care about it.
So this is probably a bit off, but the late Lee Kuan Yew, it was very public. I'm not sure if you guys can share a little bit about what is it behind the scenes, because the backstory is this for the viewers. It was that Lee Kuan Yew was a long-time prime minister for Singapore, and he said that he wanted his house to be demolished. I think in his will he said that as long as his daughter is not staying there anymore, it can be demolished. And I don't know what what he didn't want was for it to be a shrine for people to go and visit. And of course, it became a very public spat between
Brothers.
two brothers. I'm not sure if the sister was involved, and the wives were involved as well. I think somewhat, right? So, like this was kind of that case, right?
Well, you can say it's like similar, but first I have to disclaim, right? I'm not very familiar on that case, right? And
Okay,
because
okay.
actually the nitty-gritty of things, right? There's so many things inside the estate case. So because it's actually like it's not really our case, right? I can't really comment on it.
Okay,
As first,
okay.
if you want, probably we can introduce you to the public trust officer of Singapore, which is a very good friend. But the thing is actually like in a very general note of it, right?
Yeah.
Then it does shows that it's a dispute in the sense of decision, right? But the problem is actually, if there's a very clear instruction, right? Supposedly go into the instruction. But sometimes, right, even the instruction is clear, right? I can't use that, but how to say it's like just now we mentioned, some people have that entitlement that they think that they are right. So
okay,
then
okay.
they'll fight and say that what is the contest. So when it's contest, right, that's the only avenue to publicize it.
Right.
You see, general real contest is actually you're supposed to go to court and fight about it. So how it's spin off, I'm not sure because
Okay.
not very familiar with the family.
Okay.
And of course, I just want to put a note on that, right? Since you talk about this, right? It says that the wife.
Yeah.
This one we can say is that we are not sure that family and that wife, but we do see a lot of some kind of the cases, right? People will say that I need to check with my wife. So even on the estate case, right, it's like it's become a family thing.
Yeah.
So the wife always have a say on it because let's say that the inheritance, let's say 1 million, right, and this son, right, got 500,000 or 200,000. You see, the wife have a say on it because after the 200,000 goes to the husband, right, a part of it, right, if he die, the wife will get it, the children get it.
Yeah.
So if it's 500,000, right, the wife get more. So it's always have that kind of trickle effect on it. So it's normal to have that, but I'm just on a general basis, but
But
case-wise not sure.
But
on
maybe
that.
some conclusions that can be drawn is that these
Yeah.
complications arise when the quality of the will is questionable. And what we often hear is that suddenly there's a last-minute will appearing.
Right.
So another advantage of doing a will with Amanah Raya is that we have a team of 20 will writers behind the scenes who
Yeah.
actually writes the will. So I think it's important that the will is foolproof and unchallengeable.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, actually on that note, I have to take back my word, says that it's like not totally foolproof, that to a certain extent almost foolproof, right? Because if writing a will with Amanah Raya, right, that's where the main difference is actually executor,
Yeah.
by default, we put Amanah Raya
Right,
to
right.
avoid the dispute of the family. But of course, it's the rights of the family, right? So if they want to change, they just says that once they do the drafting, they says that no, I do not want Amanah Raya be the default executor.
Yeah.
So I want to name my brother or sister. We can, but
Okay.
generally speaking, we put default as Amanah Raya because that is a better mechanism because we know how to do it lawfully
Yeah.
instead of a guess game between
course,
the
of
family. And I mean, even if you're a very good financial guy, right, comes in and says that I'm the executor, they need to go through the legal route and they need to understand and go through the cycle. It might take longer time and also not fair to the family.
Because it's not just finance, right? It's also legal,
Correct.
it's procedures,
Correct.
and where. So it's
Information.
But so I guess the question here: how would we avoid if we talk about the Lee family, which are so public? How would someone avoid? So say we do will with Amanah Raya for a good low price of 100 ringgit a month for next 12 months, right? How would we avoid where someone comes in last minute and say, oh yeah, he signed this 5 minutes before he passed away or he or she passed away?
Well, one thing is to take a video of the will.
Oh, must take a video.
I mean, that's one way we can provide assurances, right? And
Ah.
some of the will providers go to the extent in providing a camera view from 4 angles, right?
Right.
To ensure that how you can doctor the video now.
Correct,
So you have
correct.
4-angle videos. That's one way.
Yeah.
And then other assurances will be, like I said, to verbalize what your wishes to the beneficiary so that they don't dispute.
In that video lah.
No, just like to assure them like this is how it's done already, and
Ah.
I've already recorded a video. That's what you meant.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like it's a forever thing. A lot
Yeah.
of people says that that's the cheap short way of the will, right?
Yeah.
But of course, trust the court. or trust Amanah Raya or whoever the probate officer, because when you're saying that you confirming a will, right, later to execute, right, you need to get a probate officer or the court, right, to confirm it. So trust them, because actually we don't do things in the sense of I got this will, right, even the date is actually just last date. Of course, drafting a will, there's a certain, there's a will act in Malaysia. You need to follow through that thing. Then if actually everything check, right, and so last minute, if there's personal contest, right, you go to court, right, have to trust the judge. Because
so
you
the
need to
judge
look
will
into it.
decide lah.
Correct. Let's say that last minute the person is bedridden, right, then there will be a lot of proof need to be given. Like, doctor's confirmations, or there's a video, or there's a recording, there's additional information. So there's always a rules of court that's actually they will follow.
Okay.
And it becomes complicated when somebody tries to add on the will orally.
So the
that's
oral
when,
will.
So then that's why the other beneficiary say, oh, my dad said.
Yeah.
So then that becomes a contest
It's like
as
a
well.
he says,
So
she says kind
he
of thing.
says, she says kind of thing, yeah.
Okay.
So that occurs. I mean, oral can become a contract also.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But it's so much weaker than the written one.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. We're running a little bit over time here. So
Okay.
let's go into the last case study,
Last
which
case
is a little bit different. So it's a corporate trustee for sukuk issuance. So this is a GLC. They issued a 500 million sukuk and required a Sharia-compliant trustee to ensure investor protection. So I think let's pull this back a little bit. Amanah Raya is not just a trustee for individuals, but you guys are also a corporate trustee. So under what kind of scenarios is that required by a corporation to have a corporate trustee?
Well, I mean, especially when it involves when corporates are handling a lot of funds.
Yep.
So you were required to instill some kind of instill assurance to the public that these funds are handled appropriately. For example, we are the corporate trustee for PNB.
Yep.
And we are the corporate trustee for Public Mutual. So in that sense, we also provide our services to become corporate trustee for sukuks, because as you know, sukuks when issued, there's always a risk of what the utilization proceeds are for. And the utilization of proceeds are normally dictated under the principal terms and conditions of the sukuk.
Yeah.
So who ensures that? Who ensures that they do what they say they do?
Yeah.
And who ensures that they will, how should I say, play within the boundaries in the lifespan of repaying the sukuk?
Yeah.
So as a corporate trustee, our role is we don't take an active role in the commercial decisions, but we take an active role to ensure that everybody stays within the boundaries, within the trust deed of the sukuk.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I mean, for us at ET, our wealth management, we've also appointed Amanah Raya trustee as for our clients' benefit, right? Yeah.
Right. And then basically what that means is that in the event that anything happens, the trustee has to execute according to the letter of the law and whatever things were set out, whatever conditions were set out at the initial agreement of that trust.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's where public confidence comes into play, because they know that it's not just one company, but it's these two companies that have to execute the funds accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, we act like a how should I say,
Independent party.
a third
Independent party, yes.
Independent
Yes,
party, like a
yes.
watchdog.
Yeah,
Like a watchdog
like a
to
watchdog.
ensure that everybody plays by the rule.
And
Right,
just to
so-
be clear, in that scenario, the funds actually do sit with you guys. It doesn't sit with the original company.
Yeah. I mean, the trust structure can be set up in various ways, right? For
Yeah.
example, we've seen how corporate trustee structures evolved over the years. For example, when sukuk first came out, the corporate trustee setup was first started up as a watchdog from far. That means the monies from the sukuk goes into an operating account, which is handled by the issuer, and the corporate trustee just watches from behind. And that's evolved to from going to an operating account, and now it actually goes to the trustee.
Yep.
To ensure more governance, because you hear about sukuk going default, right?
Yeah.
You hear about sukuk
Yeah.
going default, and how that's gone default is that when the monies goes into the operating account
Leak out.
and it leaks out from the operating account without going to the trustee, but the trustee is held accountable for it. And that's why we see the corporate trustee structure evolves, become more tighter, and more involvement from the corporate trustee. I mean, this is quite a significant role. You hear sometimes when Sukuk defaults, the first person that people go after is the trustee.
Yeah.
Because they accuse the trustee didn't do their job.
Yeah.
A simple case would be Max 2 Sukuk, where
Yeah.
it's gone defaulted, where people have accused the trustee of probably negligent in carrying out their duties. So that's why we have these structures to ensure that we can carry out our duty effectively.
Yeah.
Right?
So maybe for the audience, give us a size of, how much assets does Amanah Raya right now like custody or hold in trust? What's the size?
Estimated about 300 billion.
300 billion.
300 billion.
Okay, I just want to
100 billion.
clarify on that, right? When we're talking about corporate trustee, right, it's actually run under our 100% owned subsidiary called Amanah Raya
Raya
Trustee
Trustee.
Berhad. So that's the perspective.
That's
of
300
Okay,
billion.
okay. So 300 billion there.
But
and then
what
with
about the
Amanah
whole
Raya,
Amanah Raya?
Yeah.
On Amanah Raya Berhad itself, right,
Yeah.
as a public trustee role, right,
Yeah.
that one's actually like in the circle of like 8 billion, we can say.
Yeah,
8
I mean,
billion,
so these are assets. I mean, this is the unique role that we have.
Right.
In managing the assets of the deceased, we are both trustee and asset manager, if you like, because we
Yeah.
manage the assets, which
Correct,
help
correct.
them. Normally, that's in the tune of 1 to 2 billion at
Yeah.
all times, right? But in the pure trusteeship role, that's the 300 billion
Yep.
asset that we manage. So the asset is much larger because our role is simpler. We don't get involved in commercial decisions.
Right.
So any decisions will have to come to us, and our role is limited to ensure that it falls within the trust deed. Because many commercial decisions come into play. For example, you hear about Menara ABS, how much to sell the Menara TM, or whether TH would take the first cut or what, So
Right.
we get involved in that because we're the trustee.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's not just executing sometimes, but you do have to make business decisions of like, how much to value the property at or how much to.
Or we have to make decision whether the valuation method is allowed under the trustee,
Right.
or
Right.
whether doing a valuation is even allowed under the trustee.
Right. Or even when to buy and when to sell.
Yeah, we don't get to decide when. We get to decide on whether the trustee allows for that.
So
Okay.
so you need to follow the trust deed.
We
lah.
need to follow
So
the
that
trust
deed.
basically
The
It's
trustee
just-
basically has a perimeter of things that you can do or
Ah.
cannot
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's more like gatekeeper as opposed to
gatekeeper.
manager.
Yeah.
It's like a compliance and internal audit.
I
Yeah.
see.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
making sure, right, all this transaction that's going through, right, is correctly done and it's actually following whatever that's set on the trust deed of the sukuk or
I see.
whatever funds. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Close it up.
All right. Thank you so much. We've run out of time. I think we originally put an hour for this. I think we've got almost 2 hours of content here. Encik Faisal, thank you very much for
You're
being
most
here,
welcome, most
spending the
welcome, Aman.
time.
Thank you so much.
Jack, thank you so much for being here. We've learned so much. For me, this was we probably need another session, but
No, it's fine because I remember it's recorded. It's actually, it says that you're going to buy a veil later.
yeah, that's right. So I just want to go buy a will, right? Yeah, that reminds me, I
1,200.
need to do my will, right?
12 monthly payments, 100 ringgit only.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? Any major credit cards, right? Any-
And
credit
and
cards,
better still, you can do it from your phone, so you don't have to go to anywhere. I was going to mention you can do the 1200 will from your phone. So
Yeah.
download our app or visit our 20 branches around Malaysia.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Look, that's all the time we had today. I hope you guys enjoyed our podcast. Really informational. If you'd like to get in touch with us, don't forget like, subscribe, follow us, comment below. Until the next Borak Bursa, thanks again for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.